Welcome back. We just finished week 3 of the 2024 Sports and Active Lifestyle Internship, and we are headed into our last and final week with the 16 interns. A lot has happened in the past week. The interns returned from their big trip to Southern California and had a fun and informative week exploring the Bay Area and wine country. This week was an amazing opportunity for the interns to learn and experience all the opportunities within real estate, private equity, and the hospitality industry.
We want to thank all that made week 3 so special, and a big thank you to those that toured and met with our team to teach them all about their industry. Thank you especially to Steven Schwartz from Midtown Athletic Club, Kurt Cross from Morgan Stanley, the Elliott Group, and Kevin Compton. And also a big thank you to James White, Rick Caro, and Marco Grassi and Bill Harlan at the Napa Valley Reserve. Thank you also to Dennis Garrison from Oakwood Athletic Club and Club Sport San Ramon.
Yes, and we would also like to thank Chef Christopher Costow as well as the entire team at Charter Oak for an incredible culinary experience.
It's been a great week.
Yeah, I cannot wait to check in with the interns and hear all about it.
Let's go.
If I should start, probably should have figured that out. Just start.
That one snap, yeah.
What was your favorite place you visited this week and why?
I think my favorite place was Meadowood in Napa Valley because for a winery, it was a very unique environment. Usually a winery is just the winery itself, but Meadowood incorporates that club experience, and I think having the community and the members engage in that and be able to pick the wine or create their own wine is really a unique experience. So I really enjoyed learning about Meadowood.
My favorite place that we toured this week was the Meadowood Napa Valley Reserve, and we were toured by Marco, who was in charge of all of their winemaking. He is originally from Rome and was extremely enthusiastic. I had never been exposed to a winery or the vineyards or anything about how it is made, so I had a great time, and it was a beautiful property as well. So.
I would say that my favorite place that I toured this week was definitely the Napa Valley Reserve. I have never experienced or been exposed to a vineyard or a winery, so being able to have that experience was amazing. The property was beautiful and it was a beautiful day, and we also got to see the intricacies and learn about the process of winemaking, which is also something that I was not very knowledgeable on prior to the visit. So it was a very cool and interesting experience.
And I really appreciated Bill's emphasis on wine education and how he bridges Meadowood with the Reserve to share with their members that wine's more than just a taste in the glass.
So my favorite place that we toured this week was Club Sport San Ramon, and also our meeting with Dennis Garrison. This was really cool to see the variety of sports that they offer on the property, along with all the different fitness classes. And the meeting with Dennis was super helpful to learn about the industry, as his family has had the club in San Ramon for 44 years.
My favorite place we went this week was Charter Oak for dinner after touring the Napa Valley Reserve. The food was phenomenal. Being in the private dining room, it was very cool. There was lots of cool artwork. So it was just overall, it was a great culinary experience.
My favorite place we toured this week was Club Sport San Ramon and meeting with Dennis Garrison, because when we met with him, he had a huge emphasis on the sense of community, and when we visited the club, that was so evident. Because right when we walked in, the group exercises classes, they were so vibrant and everyone looked like they were having a great time, really bonding together just in a short period of time. And as well, when we visited we climbed up the stairs to visit the tennis area and the pickleball area, that was also evident where the people playing were even talking to us, just showcasing that sense of engagement and community.
What was the most impactful thing that you learned this week?
The most impactful thing that I learned this week was from the Elliott Group, who is in the business of people, and I took 2 main things away from them. The first being that influence always beats authority. They talked about how historically that's proven to be true on numerous occasions, and also that courage and curiosity are essential for growth. You got to be, brave and make some tough decisions and be willing to fail, as well as curious about the work you're doing, about the people that you do work with, and both of those are, extremely necessary for you to have success in whatever it is that you're doing.
Most impactful thing I think I learned this week was from Kevin Compton, and he went into sort of a lot of detail about his experience in venture capital within the tech industry and sort of emerging trends that he sees with AI, or as he prefers to call it, machine learning. And then from the sports aspect, I thought it was really cool to hear about his journey in acquiring the San Jose Sharks and being an owner and operator in the sports industry.
The most impactful thing I learned this week had to have come from our talk with James White. I really appreciated his importance or his emphasis on empathy and how important it is in the workplace to increase understanding and just deepen the relationship.
I agree with Silas. James White was definitely one of my favorites. He gave a lot of valuable advice, including the need to spend time with different people in different places with different backgrounds, and just how it opens up opportunities and gives us valuable insight that we wouldn't have otherwise.
So the most impactful thing this week for me was meeting James White. I think it was really inspiring and hearing his journey and the different things that he went through.
When we got the chance to meet with Kevin Compton this week, I thought there was a very impactful quote that he had that stuck with me after the meeting, and it was, "A great life is not about the big things, it's about the small things that make a big difference." And it's a very cliche way to think about life, but I think hearing it from Mr. Compton, and after all you hear about all the successes that he's had, for him to approach everything that way was just really inspiring and something that stuck with me after the meeting was done.
The most impactful thing I learned this week was from the Elliott Group when they were talking about their 6 points of leadership and kind of how they use those points to look for executives when they're recruiting for companies. Most importantly, they talked about integrity and how leaders have to have integrity and build trust in their employees to have a good relationship, and that really stuck with me.
The most impactful thing I learned this week was our meeting with Rick Caro as he discussed his 50-plus years in the fitness industry and how clubs grew from small indoor tennis-only clubs to whole-scale sports resorts. And then he also shared some great trends from the fitness industry in 2024 and how Gen Z will drive the growth in the future.
I think the most impactful for me was with Kirk Cross at Morgan Stanley when he was speaking about how professional sports teams are now a target for private equity. And I think just how much growth we've seen in that sector and how it's now being recognized as a solid, not just a acceptable investment, but as one of the top investments in the current field is extremely interesting in today's society.
I think the most impactful and interesting thing that I learned was from Rick Caro, and he was talking about how so he was managing, helping manage other people's businesses. He was explaining how to start a business you want to kind of take your point wherever you want to start and go 8-minute drive or 8-minute walk in every direction and kind of scope out the competition, see what possible acquisition targets you might have in that area to make a successful business. And I think it also just plays to Bay Club's model of the campus model. So I thought it was tied in really well and it was pretty interesting.
The most impactful thing I learned this week was also from Rick Caro, because he mentioned that he has been in the sports and active lifestyle industry for over 51 years now. It was amazing to hear from how the industry started to where it's at now, and he mentioned in the beginning it was all tennis clubs, and then it moved to more racket sports where that was a big phase, and then it moved to multi-athletic facilities and clubs, and now you see where it's at today, where it's all sorts of clubs with tennis, fitness, gyms, pools, and all sorts of things. And I thought that was incredibly interesting, especially being with the Bay Club and seeing all of the Bay Clubs along the West Coast, because we can compare it to what it used to be, where it was just tennis clubs and those sort of things, and just amazing to hear about the evolution from somebody who's been in the field for so long.
I think the most impactful thing I learned this week was from Steven Schwartz. He really honed in on being intentional in your design choices, and one of the things he talked about was you're not always going somewhere every day of every week for 2 hours. You don't go to the grocery store 2 hours a day. You don't go shopping 2 hours a day, but these people and their members are really going to athletic clubs, going to sports clubs, and being in the sports and active lifestyle industry for 2 to 3 hours for 4 to 5 days a week. And so knowing that, it's really important to create things for your members before they know that they need it. And I think that was really special and something that was really important to take away from him.
I think the biggest thing for me was learning from Steven Schwartz, fellow hotelie and the mastermind behind Midtown Athletic Club, especially hearing his design process and what goes into creating such beautiful clubs. He really emphasized understanding the human experience and him really differentiating his clubs from others in the area. It was such a cool thing. He had golf simulators added, boxing rings, and it really brought people together and created a sense of community. And that was something that I definitely took away from my time with him.